Try something smart. Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom. Informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI. Food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It is Tuesday. We're into a brand new week, working week that is, and it's May the 21st, 2024. This is program number 1180 of the Lunchroom. Now, of course, in addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can get us at our website. It is rcistlucia.com. You can stream our previous shows from that platform in podcast form as well. We are streaming on Facebook. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. That's a live feed. And please be sure to share that as well with your friends and family. And of course, you want to send out some birthday greetings for today. But first, let me take the opportunity to send out some belated birthday greetings to my sister, Mrs. Zilta George Leslie, who celebrated her birthday yesterday. Also sending birthday greetings to Dr. Christopher Cox. Happy birthday to you, and wishing you an absolutely fantastic birthday. Also to Mr. Michael Thibbles, happy birthday to you, and we do hope that you're having a fantastic celebration today. And I understand it's also the birthday of Dr. Peter St. Rose. Happy birthday to you, sir. And we're wishing you a wonderful day as well. Speaking of doctors, Dr. Beat, I believe it's his birthday. And he's turning into a very magic number indeed. And we do hope that he's having a fantastic birthday celebration. Now, some history for today. In fact, we're going to go back as far as the year 1792, when Mount Unsen in Japan, in the Shimabara Peninsula, erupted, creating a tsunami, killing about 15,000 people, and that was Japan's deadliest volcanic eruption. In the year 1832, on this day, the first U.S. Democratic National Convention was held in the city of Baltimore. In the year 1904, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, that was FIFA, and that was formed on this day, May the 21st in 1904 in Paris. In 1927, on this day, the aviator Charles Lindbergh on the Spirit of St. Louis landed in Paris after the first solo air crossing of the Atlantic. 1932, a bit more aviation history. After flying for 17 hours from Newfoundland, Amelia Earhart landed near Londonderry in Northern Ireland, completing the first transatlantic solo flight by a woman. And of course, that happened 5 years after Charles Lindbergh did it. And in 1981, on this day, reggae musician Bob Marley received a state funeral in Jamaica. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. There's all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also glad gasway and vanity. Boss, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jugosile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program for today, the first working day of the week. And of course, we do hope that everybody had a very enjoyable long weekend, Whitsuntide weekend. marking the end of the Easter season. And so, of course, we do hope that you had a good one, a restful one. Perhaps you may have gone out on around the island or some sort of outing, enjoying the island. And of course, we do hope that it was good for you. Now, just a little note here. In fact, for those of you who love the A-Team, we were mentioning birthdays earlier on. It's also the birthday of Mr. T, who many people would have remembered from that show back from the 1980s. Believe it or not, Mr. T turned 72 today. And it also would have been the birthday of the rapper Notorious B.I.G. And he, in fact, if he was still alive today, had he still been alive today, he would have been marking his 52nd birthday today as well. So just thought I wanted to share that with you. Now, unfortunately, over the weekend, we're going to be speaking about water in two senses. One, the matter of the sea, and the other being the matter of potable water. Now, in terms of the sea, of course, unfortunately, we witnessed a drowning over at VG Beach, and that led to the loss of the life of a young gentleman from the Castries North community, and very unfortunate, of course, where we're seeing this occurring. And of course, VG Beach is one of the most popular beaches on the island, and of course, the matter is being probed into how the teenager managed to lose his life from drowning in this area. Sorry, he's actually from the community of Boapatat, and just 16 years old. And so certainly we want to extend our condolences to the family of Mr. Kelvinus Leone, who no doubt was enjoying a good time at the water, and unfortunately ending up getting into some difficulty in the water. And it is certainly something that we do need to be thinking about. Being on an island, and we've spoken about this before, the need to ensure that more people can, number one, swim, and of course have basic swimming skills. And how to tackle certain situations, of course, in the water, and that's really important. I think we still quite likely live in a country where the majority of the population cannot swim, and at least a reasonable standard, and that, of course, is certainly a matter that will continue to be a hindrance, certainly, to how much we can enjoy and utilize and maximize this astounding resource which we have, that of the water, that of the sea. We are on an island, and we have seen some tremendous improvements over the years in terms of our athletes swimming from an aquatic sense, and doing very well. And so certainly we want to speak to some of the great improvements that have been made in that regard. But in terms of the ubiquity of swimming as a skill, it is certainly still something that we have to definitely improve upon. In the first instance, from the ability to enjoy the sea and to be able to be in the water, that's obviously the most important thing. But of course, it has certainly important aspects in terms of economic gain and livelihood. And so we do know that there's this emphasis on the blue economy, and there's an entire World Bank funded project right now looking at the blue economy and looking at the potential for our marine resources, and how we can leverage that. And of course, one of the basic ways, of course, is actually being able to get into the water and to provide whatever services that may be accompanied by that. Of course, we have hundreds of thousands of people who are coming on island on an annual basis. In fact, and if we include our million-odd cruise passengers, quite often, many of them, that is their go-to destination. They want to get off the ship and head to the water, and they do that. And in fact, VG Beach is the closest beach to the cruise port, to the capital, and we've seen certainly over the past years a number of people coming and putting in services along VG Beach, from those who are of course providing beach chairs and other support services for those beach goers. So it is certainly something that we've got to be thinking about a bit more seriously in terms of how these nearshore marine spaces, coastal areas, are in fact managed. And by management, I'm speaking in its total or holistic sense. And so, of course, even the issue of health and safety on our beaches has to be looked at very seriously. It's been a long-standing matter which we've spoken about and have lamented time and time again the absence of lifesavers or lifeguards on our beaches. And of course, let's face it, we will never be able to provide, and I don't think any place around the world provides lifeguards on every single beach. But certainly, there are known times when we would expect there to be a fairly large number of people who are going to the water or who are likely to be able to get into the water. And we should certainly be thinking about this aspect as well. So the most important thing, of course, is first and foremost, how do we get more citizens to be able to swim? And that's the best way of certainly being able to deal with this issue. But in addition to that, we certainly do also have to think about the matter of health and safety regarding these spaces, these beaches, and how people can enjoy them safely. And of course, it's the water is one aspect. The sand is another aspect as well. We do have multiple uses in some places, and we know our beaches are sometimes used for all sorts of different activities, which may very well introduce things that may not be safe for people when they're on the sand, whether it's bottles and whatever the case may be. So that aspect of it obviously is an important aspect in terms of the management. We've seen the impact of sargassum. That's another issue too. But of course, we've seen the impact of people using horses on the shore, and that can be somewhat dangerous if you have people on the along the side of the shore, and what happens there. We have a very great tendency of wanting to bring our vehicles almost as close as possible to the water's edge, and that too could be risky in some regards. So all of those beach management issues, which in fact now within the remit of the National Conservation Authority, certainly something that needs to be looked at. But beyond that, of course, the safety of individuals in the water is another major one. And we have seen in the past, of course, the issue of drowning. That's one, because people can get into the water and they can end up, for one reason or another, experiencing difficulty. It might be that they may be temporarily immobilized. Might be a cramp or whatever the case may be. It might be issues with the choppiness of the water or rip currents. A lot of things that could go wrong. And so certainly having the presence of individuals who can support or look out for individuals who are in need of assistance. That's also a really important aspect that we should be looking at. And I know there have been calls from the St. Lucia Lifesavers Association, but I think it is a really good justification. If we weren't doing it at least for our very own, I mean, we should be thinking about the economic issues too. And this whole concept of blue economy is a good opportunity maybe to be seeing how we can leverage this opportunity to ensure that some of these services can in fact be provided by way of maybe training more people and getting people out there and putting in the necessary infrastructure as well. Also the signage when there's bad weather and it may not be safe to actually be in the water. That's also a really important aspect of this of management of those areas. And of course, as well, in addition to that, we have to be mindful of the whole issue of the demarcation of water, of the space. And we've seen, unfortunately, and more in particular in the Rodney Bay area, situations where individuals are using some sort of mechanized, water machines and things like the jet skis, and people are in the water and they're using these ski-doos and these various devices, and those can in fact lead to injury, especially when you have got swimmers and those devices in the same space. So it certainly needs the areas where people should be able to swim freely. They need to be properly demarcated. And if we don't do that, we're going to continue to see, unfortunately, situations where individuals end up getting injured, end up getting maimed, and unfortunately, even to the extent sometimes people lose their lives along our beaches. So it is a matter, I think, that we do need to take very seriously, and it's something that we've got to be very mindful of. Sometimes we see these things and we think of them as very small matters, or things that may be they may not be mainstream, they may not be perhaps be something that we see as a major concern, because the beach is a place of leisure. It's a place where you're going to enjoy yourself. And so sometimes these things seem to be secondary away from what we maybe think of the harder issues, of the economy and infrastructure and whatnot. But they are in fact very important in terms of quality of life, and we certainly do need to perhaps give it some thought. Now, over the weekend, unfortunately as well, I do believe there was although not to the extent of anybody losing their life, but there was an incident which seemed to have been captured, and that of the unfortunate attack of some stray dogs on a young boy. Now, and in some respects, I suppose this has come a little bit close to home for RCI. But it seems, of course, that we've had these situations in the past of individuals being attacked by dogs. We do have, I believe it's, what is it called, a Dangerous Animals Act, or an Animals Act, and there are in fact requirements regarding the matter of how we keep our pets. And it's a big issue around the world. It's always, in fact, I think just a little while ago, I saw something regarding an owner of a dog in London actually being killed. The dog killed his own owner. And so we know that these issues come about off and on. In the United States of America, lots of interesting pets people look for. And I mean, yes, the issues of some people may want a pet alligator, or they may want a pet tiger or whatnot. The big craze these days, that of wolf dogs. So they're not just dogs. They're a cross between a wolf and a domesticated dog. That's become a very topical issue in terms of how those animals, or should they in fact even be allowed, and what kind of controls need to be put with respect to those animals. But of course, here in St. Lucia, where we've got quite a lot of challenges with respect to dogs, the major one, of course, is that of individuals having dogs, and they perhaps can't take care of those animals, and they simply forego these animals and drop them on the sides of the roads and in places in the hope that somebody else will take it up. And that has led to, of course, a tremendous challenge in terms of the stray dog population. I speak of dogs, but we also have an issue of cats. And the cats in particular have been fairly menacing to wildlife. Our avifauna in many parts of the island under tremendous strain as a result of these felines getting into the bush, getting into the dry forest, and they cause quite a lot of problems there. And as well, problems with iguana and other species that are out there. So the issue of these pets certainly is a challenge for our wildlife, but of course it sometimes can be a challenge for ourselves as human beings, because of course they could potentially be spreading disease, and we know the other problems that they cause. If your garbage collection is perhaps a little delayed, you can see the impacts on the road with these animals helping themselves to the waste. And so certainly they have implications in terms of the sanitation of our country, the cleanliness of our country, the beauty of our country, if these things are left unchecked. And unfortunately, sometimes it gets to the point where they can, in fact, end up becoming almost feral, almost wild, and they end up forming packs and can, in fact, end up attacking individuals, especially if we're speaking about infants, young children. And so this is a serious matter, which, again, we sometimes don't treat with a level of seriousness, and we think it's not really anybody's responsibility, and it's been a festering problem. We've seen some efforts over the years with respect to the city council, for instance, sometimes getting into a sort of well, I guess you could almost say eradication, because that's unfortunately what it is. Which they've tended to do, but dog catchers have been hired to bring them in, but we can, of course, if it's not managed, you're going to continue to see it flaring up. Now, of course, we've noted the efforts of many who have been have come on island and who've engaged in finding new homes abroad for some of these animals, particularly the dogs. But of course, that too has its limitations as well. And so I think we have certainly been at a point where we've been depending on a lot of goodwill, and the goodwill of a lot of people who have visited the island and who've actually said, oh boy, look at this situation, and who've wanted to help out. And have been providing support through the St. Lucia Animal Protection Society, SLAPS. And they, of course, have been supporting quite a lot of dogs, quite a lot of animals over the years. But I don't think that it's a matter that can simply continue to be left up to goodwill. We have laws, we have rules, we have legislation, and we need to ensure that legislation is complied with, and we need to ensure that the rules and the laws are implemented as they have been intended. There was a time when you would have required a license to have and keep a pet. Some people may think that is maybe extreme, but the reality is, in many places you do have to have licenses, and certainly in instances where you may very well have what could be considered a dangerous animal, that too certainly has to be very carefully regulated. So perhaps it's the Ministry of Agriculture, I suspect, might be the one that has the remit for this with respect to the Veterinary Services Division. But of course, we know that they will say that, it's all about the resources, and they perhaps need to have some support there. I know, and they must be thinking, we're already doing quite a lot in terms of the livestock and that aspect of animals. But certainly, I think in terms of pets, there is that other issue that we need to be thinking about. And we've also seen the impacts on coming back to the issue of biodiversity, where some people decide, I want to have a pet iguana. And they bring in the pet iguana, and the pet iguana finds itself escaping and meets up with another escaped pet iguana. And guess what ends up happening? And you've got a whole new population over time exploding and becoming a challenge. Monkeys, that's another one. Supposedly, there's some parts of Mornay that have, and perhaps has not gotten out of control, as we've seen in places like St. Kitts and Barbados, but it's something that you've got to be wary about. And of course, other alien invasive species, which we've seen in our marine space as well, like the lionfish, a lot of it certainly requires active effort at control. So on the matter of dogs in particular, we've got to be thinking about that a bit more, and to think as to see how then these things can be better controlled. So to the advocates who have been assisting and who are putting in the tireless work, I know there's some really passionate dog lovers out there. And we should also point out, as with all of these things, there's a lot of business opportunity as well in terms of rearing of dogs and, bringing them out, and people pay a pretty penny for the very special breeds. So there's potential, but of course it has to certainly be looked at, and maybe some opportunity here as well for entrepreneurs to come on board in this regard. That's our dish of the day, and when we come back, we'll take in our weather report and then head to the phone lines as well.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One test for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need test for your balcony. Come down to Test Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Test Plus, Test Plus, Test Plus. Big test with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Did all kind of tests. Come down to Test Plus. We also got gas and vanity. Box, dust, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tests on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Joux Grizzly, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Test Plus.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige and grey tiles with these tile stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my #1 store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. Will help bring your vision to life in living color.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's what, of course, on the 1.4. It's now time for a weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talamba. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. The winds will be blowing from between the east and east-southeast near 18 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour. The weather partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy skies with a few light to moderate showers. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles, partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy with widely scattered showers over the central and northern Lesser Antilles. Elsewhere, fair skies becoming cloudy at times with a few showers. And the weather summary, the Atlantic high pressure system will maintain moderate easterly to southeasterly winds across the Eastern Caribbean region during the next few days. Weak unstable conditions in the lower atmosphere over the region will cause cloudy periods with widely scattered showers. And this was the weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talamba.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige and grey tiles with these tile stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my #1 store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. Will help bring your vision to life in living color.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046, 452-3046, as well as our WhatsApp number, that is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. Now, some very interesting things happening around the world. One of them is that it would appear that the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court is going to be seeking arrest warrants against the head of Hamas, a Hamas leader, as well as the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. And that is in relation to the ongoing issue of the war in Gaza. And the suggestion there coming from that ICC chief is that both the Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, as well as the Israeli Prime Minister, will be charged for war crimes and crimes against humanity. And that, of course, is something that we've been following since back in for the October 7th attacks on Israel, and then the subsequent ongoing war, in fact, in Gaza, which has certainly caused for quite a lot of distress all around the world. And it certainly has caused quite a lot of division. A lot of individuals have on both sides speaking very passionately about it, and of course many condemning the state of Israel for taking up way beyond using force that was in excess of what perhaps should have been utilized in their retaliation against Gaza and the Hamas forces which controlled Gaza. Of course, this long-standing situation between Palestine and the Palestinian people and the Israeli population there is a very tumultuous one. It's one that we've seen flare-ups many times, but I think this particular incident has certainly is beyond measure in terms of what we've seen over the years and years of continued conflict in the Levant, in the Holy Land. And certainly it'll be very interesting to see, in fact, if anything at all is going to be coming from this particular situation. The suggestion is that thus far 35,500 Palestinians have been killed, with more than 79,000 people wounded. And that, of course, does not also capture the significant hardship that millions of people are facing in that very relatively small strip of land along the Mediterranean Sea, that of Gaza. And it has been essentially the two parts of where you have the largest share of Palestinians who effectively have been sort of cordoned off by the state of Israel. They have not very much land resources to go by, and of course a country in a region that is already very relatively small, and supporting a population of about 20 million people almost. They have a very small area, less than the size of Barbados, to support over 3 million inhabitants, and very densely populated. Not very many options in terms of where to go, and of course there is a short border with Egypt, but that too, the crossings there have been closed, and Egypt itself has wanted to guard against having to deal with a flood of refugees coming into that country. And as well, of course, we know that the West Bank, although it has not largely been challenged too much by the what's going on right now, but there still has been some conflict there and some killing in that region as well. And they would have traditionally moved towards Jordan, where there's still a significant population of Palestinians living to this day. But let's go to the phone lines to take in some calls. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today? Hi, caller. How are you doing? And how was your weekend? Good. Okay. Very nice. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Oh, very, very lovely. Lovely. Good, great to hear that. Right. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Well, I would well imagine that they're going to be doing that. I mean, there's been a lot of, I mean, as has been pointed out by the Minister of Development and Sport, it's a significant investment that the country is making, both in terms of infrastructure, but the logistics of it as well is tremendous. And from the security perspective, that's a major one. And I think there have been suggestions, of course, of potential threats. And with all of these large, and not just the issue that they're large events, but they're actually going to be broadcast into countries that themselves have had challenges over the years. So, for instance, India and Pakistan have long-standing, conflicts, and so there are suggestions that there are reasons why, people who may want to be making some sort of a political statement may want to use a platform like the ICC Cricket World Cup to be able to do just that. Just as they would perhaps look at the Olympics and try to do the same thing there too. So, of course, security is paramount, and that certainly is something. But the issue that you're raising about the health is also no doubt a really important one as well. That's interesting. I mean, I suppose they will have to know what their risks are, and they would probably be doing some risk profiling of. I'm a little surprised about the Ebola because you tend to get a lot of in terms of the West and Central Africa. I mean, I know Uganda, I think, it might be participating as well in the. But you do have countries, Namibia is coming in. You have Nepal, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Papua New Guinea. So you've got a lot of countries, yes, who we probably would not traditionally have a lot of direct contact with. And yes, they would be no doubt having their own support teams and coming into, as well. So, yeah, there is possibilities for that. And so, yes, certainly that is a matter that they've got to be looking at. Mm-hmm. Yes, well, we've got to take some of these things very seriously, and I think we sometimes are very lax about it. Health and safety when it comes to even events and the venues and all those things are really important, and access to the venues, being able to get out in a quick time. That's perhaps one of our biggest challenges too. The issue of access. So that has to be very well managed. There's a tremendous amount of work to be done over the next month, no doubt, in terms of some of the roads that I noticed. Of course, the work is being done on the Beauséjour Road as well as the Kaimajé Road to improve access to that facility. But certainly there are other areas where you're going to be having practice matches and So yep, it is certainly a big event. We've done it in the past, back in 2007, and of course later on, I think in 2010 we had another World Cup, a T20 World Cup. But this one, of course, is also no doubt a really important one, and let's hope that we can show a pretty good account of ourselves to on this time around. Pigeon Island, yes. Pigeon Island National Landmark. Yeah, I think you are right. It's a national landmark, and I would say it has pretty much always been a multi-use facility. It is a historic facility, but the other reality is, of course, with all spaces, the spaces have their constraints. And I think in the case of the Pigeon Island National Landmark, there are constraints as well. So you then have to balance how you can, what you can and cannot do, or to what extent you are going to have, because as with all things we talk about carrying capacity, right? And this is something that can be properly measured, right, based on international standards that exist for different types of events, right? So you would have to look at the amount of space that you have. Some people may say, well, Pigeon Island is a pretty big place. It's 44 acres. But the actual area where you actually have the event is a much smaller space. You're talking about 5 or so acres. And so within that space, you would then have to see, well, based on the kind of event that you're having, how, there's a rate that you would use in terms of how many people you can accommodate per square, how many square feet a person would require, whether they are standing or whether they are in a sitting position or in, so all of these things have to be measured out and planned out, because effectively, just as you would have a theater, and a theater has to have points of access and egress. You have to have areas where people are going to be seated, or people might be standing. You're going to have areas where you're going to have concessions. All of these things have spatial requirements. And so I think that is what has to be properly done. Now, I think the challenge is that you've got a limit by which you're going to end up having to cut off, right? And I think that is really where the challenge is. I think there's no doubt going to be a desire to continue to see the growth of the festival, but you know what? You've got to also balance that in terms of quality. Many events, people will tell you, once you go over a certain number, things begin to increase exponentially. The amount of services that you need and the challenges that you have, the logistics beyond a certain number begins to get challenging. So I think it is a matter of ensuring that you have some level of a cap as to how much you can actually deal with within a space. Yeah, since 1993. Since 1993, and most critically, it has defined the festival in terms of the ambience, the quality of the ambience that you can enjoy at Pigeon Island National Landmark. It's very, very difficult to be able to replicate that anywhere. It's not a straightforward thing at all. Precisely. So you're speaking about an aesthetic quality, or aesthetic qualities in terms of your lawns. You're talking about the views, right? The sea views, the wind that's coming across, the trees, the vegetation, the ruins as well. Create a clear aesthetic as well, right? So the blue seas. So long and short of it is that you want to be able to protect those things, right? While still ensuring that you can put on something that people can enjoy. So that in very many ways is the challenge and the curse of tourism, right? You to enjoy something, you got to have some sort of a balance there. But the important thing I think in all of these things is that we have to be careful not to be purely. Oh, sorry, caller. I think you've got somebody else there with you. Oh, okay. All right, take care, caller. Have a good one. But of course, in all of these things, you've got to be able to strike that balance, and that's really the point that has to be made in anything regarding this. This is the same conversation I think that we're having with respect to our tourism product. If you've got 12 miles of beach, do you want every single mile of that beach to be taken up with hotels? Or if we've got, we can provide 20 million gallons of water per day, for argument's sake. How much of that water will we be willing to provide towards the economic pursuits of tourism or agriculture or, of course, domestic use? So there has to be some planning. There has to be an appreciation of some balancing when it comes to that. And as I said, of course, I think you've got to be able to make use of your resources as well. And so in an island where you've got very scarce resources, right, you've got to ensure that you protect those resources while ensuring that you can utilize them efficiently. So I think that perhaps is the critical approach that has to be taken, an appreciation of both sides, right? So it really is not a possibility of being extreme, going on one extreme to the other. On one end of the spectrum, you will always have those who may be purely driven by capital interest, and of course we're speaking about the entrepreneur, the individual who is seeking to see how they can extract as much wealth as possible out of something. And on the other side, of course, you will at the other extreme, you will have those who will say that they want almost no extraction of wealth, or almost zero in terms of, and these things should be there purely for the enjoyment of the human being and in fact, not even just for the human being, but just for the enjoyment of the thing itself. It has an intrinsic value that should be almost left untouched, right? Because we don't fully understand the space and all of those things. So, of course, you've got to find that balance. And this is where the whole issue of sustainable tourism comes in. This is where sustainability has to come in overall. Because we will be finding ourselves in these challenges where you've got to be weighing options and seeing how best we can utilize things. But with all this being said, of course, we have to appreciate that there will be points where you're going to end up just having to cap things off. I was just looking at an interesting, I haven't even read the article yet, but an article coming out of Japan suggesting that certain authorities there are literally blocking off a view of Mount Fuji. And for those who are familiar, of course, Mount Fuji, very famous snow-capped mountain, volcano, really, in Japan, which is seen, from a great distance, and it certainly is one of the defining images of Japan. And interesting enough, the decision there was to be able to limit the amount of visitors and tourists in that particular area. They literally wanted to block off the view so that people don't stop in that location and cause issues. Now, that is something that you can see in other parts of the world where you've got to try to manage places. And so there may be certain areas where you will be trying to encourage certain types of activities, and there are other areas which you would probably not want to encourage certain types of activities. And so striking that balance is a really important one. We've got the matter of the Peters Management Area, World Heritage Site. And World Heritage Sites are supposed to be for the enjoyment of the entire world. These sites are providing something that can be celebrated for all right, for all humanity. And it means that it has to be protected. And there has to be a balance there, of course. And we've seen the challenges that we've faced with respect to that. In some places, we can see that certain World Heritage Sites have been blacklisted. They've put on the endangered list. There was one instance, I think, in Cologne, in Germany, where you've got a very famous cathedral, the Köln Dome. And that church, that cathedral, with its spires, is a World Heritage Site. And there was a major issue in terms of the siting of certain buildings near that cathedral, because they would say that putting up these modern buildings, these skyscrapers, in fact, jeopardized the views of that cathedral, that Cologne Cathedral. And so, in fact, the city, the municipality had to go back and change plans, and so that they could, in fact, end up protecting that cathedral. And so, when we speak about World Heritage Sites, we've got to be very careful about that aspect as well. This June, in fact, is the 20th anniversary since the listing of the Peters Management Area World Heritage Site. And it's been around for a while, but we still have significant challenges in terms of ensuring that we are protecting it, and we're knowing, in fact, there's a whole process right now of demarcating the boundaries and the proper listing of it, the statutory protections. In fact, I think the Development Control Authority and the Ministry of Physical Development has been doing some consultations on this matter in the community of Soufrière for that very same reason. So the major takeaway, hopefully, is balance. If we want to have longevity and something that we can all enjoy for the long run. That's our program here for today at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. I hope you can join us tomorrow for another one, God willing. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.